Welcome students. This is Sujit sir, your teacher of English. In today's class, we will read a story from your honeycomb book. And the name of the story is Three Questions by Leo Tolstoy. Now, as we all know, Leo Tolstoy was a Russian writer and regarded to be one of the greatest authors of all time. Now, the story Three Questions is not only an interesting story, but also it teaches us a great truth of human life. Now, what that truth is, we will come to know towards the end of the story. Now, let us go to the story. I will read the story and I will tell you the meaning of each of the lines. The thought came to a certain king that he would never fail if he knew three things. These three things were: what is the right time to begin something? Which people should he listen to? What is the most important thing for him to do? Now, students, once there was a king, and these three things or these three questions came into his mind. And the questions were: what is the right time to begin something? So he wanted to know what was the most appropriate time to begin a work. Secondly, which people should he listen to? Now there were many people, there were many ministers in his court. He actually wanted to know who among them were his real well-wishers and who were not. Once he would come to know who were his real well-wishers, he would start listening to their advices. And those who were not, the king would avoid them. And thirdly, what was the most important thing for the king to do at a certain point of time? The king realized that if he could somehow come to know the answers of these three questions, he would never fail in anything he might undertake. He would always be successful. The king therefore sent messengers throughout his kingdom, promising a large sum of money to anyone who would answer these three questions. Many wise men came to the king, but they all answered his questions differently. Now, what did the king do? The king made a public declaration. He announced that he would give a large sum of money to any person who would give correct answers to his three questions. Now, when this news spread to every part of his kingdom, many wise men, many scholars, learned people came to his court to satisfy the king with their answers. But surprisingly, all their answers were different from one another. In reply to the first question, some said that the king must prepare a timetable and then follow it strictly. Now, some wise men suggested that the king should prepare a timetable, something like a calendar, and he should follow that timetable strictly. Only then he would be able to fix a proper time to begin everything. Others said that it was impossible to decide in advance the right time for doing something. Now there were some more wise men present in the court. They also came to answer those three questions of the king. They said, no, it was not possible for anyone to decide in advance the right time for beginning something. The king should notice all that was going on, avoid foolish pleasures, and always do whatever seemed necessary at that time. So they said the king should carry on with everything, every kind of work that a king had. And while carrying on with all the works, he himself would realize which one among those was the most important, and therefore he should pay more attention to that very work than the rest. Yet others said that the king needed a council of wise men who would help him act at the proper time. This was because one man would find it impossible to decide correctly without help from others the right time for every action. Now there was one more set of scholars, one more set of wise men. They suggested that the king should rather keep a council of wise men with himself, and those wise men would help the king from time to fix the most appropriate time to begin something, because they believed that it was not possible for one man to decide correctly the right time to begin something. But then others said that there were some things which could be urgent. These things could not wait for the decision of the council. In order to decide the right time for doing something, it is necessary to look into the future, and only magicians could do that. The king therefore would have to go to magicians. Now there were some more wise men, and they too wanted to give their answer. They said sometimes something might be very urgent. Urgent means something that needs immediate action. Now some urgent matters suddenly might turn up to the king. In those situations, what would the king do? Would the king wait to consult with the wise men and take their help? Because sometime it happens that the king should come to a decision immediately. He might not have time enough to discuss the matter with the council of wise men. They said that in order to decide the right time for doing something, it was necessary for one to look into the future. This means one should know what was going to happen in the near future. Now, once he would come to know what was going to happen in the near future, he would get some time and he would be able to discuss the matter with his council of wise men. So the king should know what was going to happen in the future. And only magicians, they said, could do that. Only magicians could know what was going to happen in the future. Therefore, the king indirectly needed the help of magicians to fix the proper time to begin something. In their answers to the second question, some said that the people most necessary to the king were his counselors. Others said the priests. A few others chose the doctors, and yet others said that his soldiers were the most necessary. Now, counselors are members of a council. Now, we should remember, students, what was the second question that arose in the mind of the king? It was, which people should he listen to? Who were the most necessary people for the king? Now, in answer to this question, again, their suggestions were variable. Some of the wise men said that the most necessary people for the king were his counselors. Some other scholars suggested no, it was the priests that the king needed the most. Some more wise men said that doctors were the most important people for the king, and yet others said that his soldiers were the most important. To the third question, some said science, others chose fighting, and yet others religious worship. So the king again got variable answers to his third question. And his third question was, what is the most important thing for him to do at a certain point of time? Some wise men said the most important affair for the king was science. Some suggested fighting. Some said religious worship was the most significant work for the king at any point of time. Now, worship means devotion offered to God. As the answers to his questions were so different, the king was not satisfied and gave no reward. Instead, he decided to seek the advice of a certain hermit who was widely known for his wisdom. Now, the answers were so variable that the king was not at all satisfied, and being dissatisfied, the king gave the reward to none. But those three questions continued to haunt the mind of the king. So finally, the king decided to consult with a certain hermit. Now, hermit is a person who lives alone and leads a simple life. There was a hermit there, and the hermit was widely known for his wisdom. Wisdom, students, means a good sense of judgment. Now, the king came to know of a hermit who was widely popular for his wisdom, and the king thought, why not consult with the hermit to get my answers? The hermit lived in a wood which he never left. He saw no one but simple people, and so the king put on ordinary clothes. Before he reached the hermit's hut, the king left his horse with his bodyguard and went on alone. So when the king came to know that the hermit never came out of the wood, wood means a small forest. The hermit used to live inside a small forest. Now when the king came to know that the hermit never left the forest and he received none but ordinary people, the hermit used to meet with the ordinary people only and solve their problems. Therefore, the king put on ordinary clothes, lest he should be identified. Yes, it's true, if the king would go in his royal attire, in his rich clothes, he would be recognized by the hermit. So he removed his royal dress and put on ordinary clothes so that he could resemble an ordinary person. And before reaching the hermit's hut, the king also left his horse behind with his bodyguard. He dismounted from his horse and left the horse under the care of his bodyguard and went on alone. He went alone to the hermit's hut to consult with him. As the king came near the hermit's hut, he saw the hermit digging the ground in front of his hut. He greeted the king and continued digging. The hermit was old and weak, and as he walked, he breathed heavily. Now, when the king reached the hermit's hut, he found that the hermit was digging the ground in front of his hut. Now, students, digging means to break up or turn loose the soil with an implement called spade, the picture of which is given in the book. Now, when the hermit saw the king, he welcomed him and continued to dig. He did not say anything to the king. The hermit was old and weak. The hermit was very old and therefore he was very weak. And as he was working, he was breathing heavily. Now, breathing heavily means breathing loudly. You must have seen when old people work a lot, they get quickly tired, and when they breathe, it produces a kind of sound that is known as breathing heavily. The king went up to the hermit and said, I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer 3 questions. How can I learn to do the right thing at the right time? Who are the people I need most? And what affairs are the most important? Affair means any kind of work or business. So the king asked his questions, for which he actually went there. He put forward his questions, one after another, 3 questions he asked. The hermit listened to the king but did not speak. He went on digging. After listening to the king's questions, the hermit remained silent, did not speak out a word, and continued to dig the ground. You are tired, said the king. Let me take the spade and work in your place. Now, being sympathetic to the hermit's physical condition, the king said, You are tired. Please give the spade to me and let me work a bit for you. And by that time you take rest. Thanks, said the hermit. giving the king his spade. Then he sat down on the ground. Then the hermit thanked the king and gave him the spade, and he himself sat down on the ground. When the king had dug 2 beds, he stopped and repeated his questions. The hermit gave no answer, but stood up, stretching out his hand for the spade, and said, "Now you rest and let me work." So when the king completed digging 2 plots of land, he stopped and once again asked his questions, and the hermit again gave no answer. The hermit stood up, extended his hand for the spade. Stretching means extending or reaching out. The hermit just reached out his hand and wanted the spade, and said to the king, "Now you rest and let me work for some time." But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. But the king did not give the hermit his spade, and he himself continued to dig the ground. 1 hour passed, then another. The sun went down behind the trees, and at last the king stuck the spade into the ground and said, "I came to you, wise man, for an answer to my questions. If you can give me no answer, tell me so, and I will return home." Now in total 2 hours had passed since the king had been digging the ground. The sun was also setting. The sun was behind the trees in the west, so it was near evening. And finally the king, losing all patience, stuck the spade, means hit the spade and kept it fixed in the ground, and said, "I came to you, wise man, for an answer to my questions." So he said he had come to him only to get his answers. The king also said if the hermit was unable to give him his answers, he should tell him clearly, so that the king would return home. "Here comes someone running," said the hermit. At that point of time, the hermit pointed out to someone who was running towards them. Indicating that man, the hermit told the king, "Look there, someone is running towards us." The king turned round and saw a bearded man running towards them. So the king also looked back and found really there was a man who was running towards them. His hands were pressed against his stomach, from which blood was flowing. And the man who was running towards them, he had beards, and he had pressed his stomach while running, and blood was coming out from there. So it is clear that he was badly bleeding. He must have been injured and blood was coming from his stomach. When he reached the king, he fainted and fell to the ground. So when that bearded man came to them, that is the king and the hermit, he lost his consciousness. Fainted means lost consciousness. And losing consciousness, he fell onto the ground. The king and the hermit removed the man's clothing and found a large wound in his stomach. The king washed and covered it with his handkerchief, but the blood would not stop flowing. The king redressed the wound until at last the bleeding stopped. So the king and the hermit found that the bearded man was badly injured. So immediately both of them together removed his clothing and indeed found a large wound in his stomach. There was a severe injury in his stomach. The king washed the wound of the bearded man and bandaged it with his handkerchief. Still the blood continued to flow. The king redressed the wound until at last the bleeding stopped. So the king continued to wash the wound and wrapped it with his handkerchief. And finally the bleeding stopped. When the bleeding stopped, the man felt better and asked for something to drink. Now when the bleeding stopped, the man revived. He came back to consciousness and he asked for something to drink. The king brought fresh water and gave it to him. By this time the sun had set and the air was cool. So the king brought some fresh water from the hut and gave it to the injured man. And by that time the sun had already set and the temperature had slightly decreased. The air was cool. The king with the hermit's help carried the wounded man into the hut and laid him on the bed. Thereafter both of them held the man and took him inside the hut and laid him on the bed. The man closed his eyes and lay quiet. So as soon as the king and the hermit laid the man on the bed, he closed his eyes and fell asleep. The king, tired by his walk and the work he had done, lay down on the floor and slept through the night. Now the king was also very tired because of his long walk and the digging of the ground. He also lay down on the floor and was fast asleep. When he awoke, it was several minutes before he could remember where he was and who the strange bearded man lying on the bed was. Now when the king awoke in the morning, it took some time for him to remember where he actually was. And he also could not understand who that bearded man was who was lying on the bed beside. "Forgive me," said the bearded man in a weak voice, when he saw that the king was awake. This means the bearded man woke up earlier than the king, and he was waiting for the king to wake up. Once the king woke up, he said to him, "Forgive me. I do not know you and have nothing to forgive you for," said the king. The king was surprised why the bearded man wanted him to forgive him. So he said to the bearded man, "I don't know you, and what should I forgive you for? You don't know me, but I know you. I am that enemy of yours who swore revenge on you, because you put my brother to death and seized my property. Now comes out the truth." The bearded man said to the king, "Well, you don't know me, but I know you. I am actually one of your enemies, and because of being an enemy, I had decided to take revenge on you." So the bearded man told the king that he was one of his enemies and he wanted to take revenge on him. And why so? Because the king had killed his brother. And not only that, the king had also took his property by force. Now seized means took something by force. "I knew you had gone alone to see that hermit, and I made up my mind to kill you on your way home." The bearded man also told the king that he had somehow come to know that the king had gone to meet with the hermit, and therefore the bearded man said that he had already made up his mind to kill the king on his way back home. "But the day passed and you did not return. So I left my hiding place and I came upon your bodyguard, who recognized me and wounded me." The bearded man also said that he was waiting and waiting in the hiding place for the king to return from the hermit's hut. But the king did not return. And losing patience, the bearded man came out of the hiding place. And when he came out of the hiding place, he came face to face with the king's bodyguard. And the king's bodyguard recognized him at once, and therefore he wounded him. "I escaped from him, but I should have died if you had not dressed my wounds." The bearded man said, in spite of being injured, he fled from there, from the bodyguard. But he might have died if the king had not dressed up his wounds. So that he was alive, it was all because of the king. "I wished to kill you, and you have saved my life." Now the bearded man felt himself guilty. He regretted that he wanted to kill the king, but it was the king who saved his life. Now the bearded man was a completely changed man. So he declared, "If I live, I will serve you as your most faithful servant." and will order my sons to do the same. Forgive me. Now the bearded man wanted to be the king's most trusted servant, if the king would allow. And not only that, the bearded man also would tell his sons to do the same, means to dedicate their life for the well-being of the royal family or for the king. And once again, he wanted the king to forgive him. The king was very happy to have made peace with his enemy so easily and to have won him over as a friend. Now the king was really very happy because a foe or an enemy had turned into a friend. So being pleased with the bearded man, the king said to him that he would not only forgive him but would send his own servants and his own doctor to look after him. And he promised to give back the man his property. Leaving the wounded man, the king went out of the hut and looked round for the hermit. Before going away, he wished once more to get answers to his questions. The hermit was on his knees, showing seeds in the beds that had been dug the day before. Now it was time for the king to return to his palace. Now while going, he thought, why not ask the hermit the questions for which he had actually come. He looked round for the hermit and found that the hermit was putting seeds to the ground which was dug the day before. It was the king who had actually dug the 2 plots of land for the hermit. So the hermit was putting seeds to those 2 beds. The king went up to the hermit and said, "For the last time I beg you to answer my questions, wise man." "You have already been answered," said the hermit, still bending down to the ground and looking up at the king as he stood before him. Now the hermit said to the king, "I have already answered your questions." And the hermit was still bending down to the ground and putting seeds to it. And the king was standing just beside him. So when the hermit said to the king that he had already given him the answers to his 3 questions, the king was utterly surprised. He did not understand what the hermit wanted to say. The king said, "How have I been answered? What do you mean?" The king still did not understand how he had got the answers because the hermit had not yet given to the king any verbal answer. "Do you not see?" replied the hermit. "If you had not pitied my weakness yesterday and had not dug these beds for me, you would have gone away. Then that man would have attacked you and you would have wished you had stayed with me." So, in reference with the incident that took place the day before, the hermit said that if the king had not shown mercy on his weakness and if the king had not dug those 2 beds for the hermit and if the king would have gone away for not getting his answers, the bearded man would have attacked him. And at that point of time, the king might have wished that it would have been better if I had stayed for some more time in the hermit's hut. So the most important time was when you were digging the beds, and I was the most important man, and to do me good was your most important business. So the hermit explained to him in reference with that incident that the most important time was when the king was digging the ground for the hermit. And the hermit said it was he who was the most important man at that point of time. And whatever the king had done for the hermit was the most important affair for the king. Afterwards, when the man ran to us, the most important time when you were caring for him, because if you had not dressed his wounds, he would have died without having made peace with you. So he was the most important man, and what you did for him was your most important business. Thereafter the hermit said to the king that when that bearded man ran towards them, The most important time was when the king was taking care of that wounded man, the bearded man. Because if the king had not taken care of that man would have died and he could not get the chance of making peace with the king. So, according to the hermit, that bearded man was the most important man at that point of time, and what the king had done for him was his most important business. Remember then, there is only one time that is important, and that time is now. Now refers to the present time. It is the most important time because it is the only time we have any power to act. So the hermit gave further explanation. He advised the king that the most important time in our life is the present time, because it is the present time when we have some power to act, when we can do something. The most necessary person is the person you are with at a particular moment, for no one knows what will happen in the future and whether we will meet anyone else. And according to him, the most significant person, the most necessary person is the person with whom you are at a certain point of time. Because no one can tell certainly that he will again meet with the person who is there with him at that moment. And finally, the hermit said that the most important work for one is to do as much good as he can for the person who is with him. So, the most important time is the present time. The most important people are they with whom you are at a certain point of time, and to do them good is our most important work. Because for that reason only, God has sent human beings to this world. So here we come to the end of this chapter. Hope all of you have understood it clearly. Thank you.